You're listening to continuing coverage in the Las Vegas Reporter murder trial of Robert Telles from the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today. Now, back to the courtroom.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Please remain seated and come to order. Court is now back in session.
Does the state stipulate to the presence of the jury panel?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the defense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, we can call the witness back in and
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Droskowitz can begin his cross-examination. Thank you very much for your patience in coming back. Do you understand you are still under oath?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Droskowitz?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Ms. Kenneth.
Hi.
You had testified that after Robert Telles started the public administrator's office, there were a lot of changes, kind of a shakeup, fair to say.
That's correct.
It was kind of a tipping over, basically, the apple cart of the way that the things had been prior to his arrival.
Absolutely.
There'd been some changes concerning overtime. He was eliminating people's overtime
Correct.
in an attempt to try and save taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
That didn't go over very well with the old guard, did it?
Old guard, meaning all the prior?
Correct.
Correct.
And who, based upon what you saw and what you knew in the office, who was he making upset?
It would have been our senior estate coordinator, Noreen Pagdayanan. It would have been Alicia Goodwin, one of our estate coordinators. I can't say Rita Reed because she was on salary. That's our assistant PA. But mainly the other two estate coordinators.
In addition to the concerns that Mr. Telles had in reference to the overtime, were there other concerns regarding basically the ethics of the office's relationships with third-party vendors?
Yes.
What were some of the concerns that you shared with Mr. Telles in reference to this?
Are you specifically talking about our real estate vendor?
Correct. Yes.
We had one vendor at the time.
And who was
that? I am so sorry. I forgot his name. Brian. But he worked mainly with John Cahill on
Okay.
real estate. Estate coordinators were not a part of that process. Actually, there were lots of concerns by other realtors that would come in and say that it just didn't seem right that there was only one vendor for that.
And again, was there a concern by those that predated Mr. Telles concerning his wanting to change things up concerning the third-party vendors?
Yes.
Was there a concern shared by yourself and Mr. Telles about some of these basically contractors, real estate agents operating under the Independent Administrations Act?
Oh, yes. Are we talking about Mr. Moore?
Correct.
Yes.
Where homes basically were being sold, people, Mr. Moore and others, were coming in on properties, selling them to straw buyers, and then selling them a second time for a substantially greater profit.
Sure. I don't know what straw buyers are, but yes, there is a concern.
Let's say a person dies, and generally, let's say that person dies intestate, where they they don't have a will. Maybe their heirs are around, maybe there's not. But was there a concern where someone would proclaim themselves, Mr. Moore, just a de facto, just front off the bat, I'm the administrator, they'd come in and sell the property to someone that perhaps there's a conflict of interest?
Okay, yes. Well, Yes,
that was occurring.
correct,
And then that person would turn around and sell that same property for a lot more money.
correct, yes.
And was the concern that you shared with Mr. Tellis is that basically these heirs weren't getting money.
That's correct.
So basically the memories of their loved ones who had died was being trampled on by these people that were coming in and grabbing these properties and making money off of them.
That's correct. I actually handled an estate just like that. Yes.
And that person with whom you handled that estate, was that person afraid of reprisal or getting in trouble or danger from stopping this happening to an heirs or to the properties being sold by these third-party vendors?
I'm so sorry, I don't think I understand.
Fair enough. What do you recall concerning your involvement? What are your concerns that were going on?
Are you talking about specifically to that one estate?
Correct.
I had an estate where real property was not worth very much. There was quite a bit of personal property, though, in the residence that had some value. We could not find a way to handle that real property accordingly because there's no liquid funds that we could use to fix up that place. I believe Mr. Moore came in and took over. John let him, Mr. Cahill, my prior PA. And he had made a comment when he came in to secure that property and take over the estate. Oh, if you got any more cases like this, we'd love to take them. So, and then later on, the family made contact with me and made comments that they had received nothing. So nothing of the personal property was distributed to them, which is normally something that we would do with family members.
Yes.
And there was no distribution of any kind. I think the house got foreclosed on. They renovated and sold it for more money, and the family got nothing.
So again, you had these third-party vendors who were making money off basically dead people's property.
Correct.
And the dead people's heirs were not getting money from the sales of these properties. It was these third-party vendors.
Correct.
Did there ever come a point in time where you and Mr. Tellis discussed the concerns regarding Compass Realty?
Compass Realty came up because they were noted in a lot of these private administration. I think they're called IAE, something like that, Independent Administration Estates, something of that
Correct.
nature.
And that came under the Independent Administrations Act?
Correct, yeah.
Yes.
So we started to see their names more involved in the document filings, the legal filings. So Compass Realty came up. I think there were, besides Mr. Moore, there were two other parties that would file for these independent whatever acts. So I believe they were associated with them, yes.
And when these parties, specifically Compass Realty or others similarly situated, when they come in and make these filings under the Independent Administrations Act, they would do that so basically, based upon your understanding, the public administrator's office would really not have anything to do with that, and they would.
That's correct. We would find out about these filings after the fact.
And based upon your personal knowledge, was this common prior to Mr. Tellis winning the election?
Absolutely.
But then when he came in, he tried to stop that.
Absolutely.
Fair to say that people expressed anger at Mr. Tellis because he was trying to stop this.
Yeah, I believe there were some phone calls from people, angry about it. Why was he trying to step in?
And basically keep money from going to them.
I guess, sure.
Are you aware of the amounts of money that we're talking about?
I think when Rob was researching it was like in the millions, so it was a lot.
So he was basically standing in the way of people making millions of dollars, which had been making that type of money before
Prior.
he was elected.
Correct.
Did you ever discuss with Mr. Tellis a packet, or let me ask you this, did you ever discuss with Mr. Tellis his wanting to go to the district attorney to try and stop this?
Yes.
And the
I think
district.
the whole office knew. Yes.
Okay, and Steve Wolfson was the district attorney.
Okay, yes. Sure.
Are you aware of Mr. Tellis speaking with another individual in law enforcement, specifically Mr. Jappy, trying to put all this evidence together?
Yes.
And this evidence that was getting put together was part of an independent investigation that Robert Tellis was
Correct.
conducting.
Yes.
And he was trying to get law enforcement to take it to stop these millions of dollars going into the wrong hands.
Yes.
Did you and Mr. Tellis discuss the suspicious nature of these transactions that were going on prior to his being elected?
Yes.
You had testified prior to the lunch break that you were made aware that Mr. Gehrman had made a request for communications between yourself and Mr. Tellis.
Yes.
And you had testified that Mr. Tellis, and I think your specific words were, didn't express concerns about these communications between yourself and him.
Talking about my not having concerns? That's
Yes.
correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said, I believe, that his concerns just dealt with vendors' names.
No, those were my concerns. I had no idea what concerns were of Rob's with those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you had no idea because he didn't express to you, oh no, this information can't get out, or
That's
this is
correct.
terrible.
Correct.
He didn't seem to be so concerned.
No, I don't think we had a conversation about that.
And if it would have been a concern in reference to the emails and things or digital communications
Right.
between yourself and Mr. Tellis, you would have expected him to tell you, hey, I'm afraid these communications are going to be in the journalist's hands.
Correct. Correct.
And were you informed on September 1st that these communications that you were not concerned about, other than some of the vendors and Mr. Tellis was not concerned about, was there a communication that you had with Mr. Tellis right around September 1st concerning the release of this information?
On the first, no.
No. Okay. Leading up to the 1st?
You talking about when we first got the request?
Yes.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of communications. So I guess the concern was what was going to be in there. We talk about our vendors, we talk about our estates, we talk about colleagues in emails. So I guess there was some concern about, will our vendors find out that we're not very happy with them, more than anything, or are they going to share personal estate information? But so yeah, there was an initial concern.
But that concern, when you talk about the personal estate information, you didn't want these errors or the information of
Right.
dead people's estates being made public.
Being made public, correct.
And that was an ethical concern.
It's confidential. You work in a confidential atmosphere, so yes.
You had given testimony prior to the lunch break concerning seeing an image outside of Jeff Gehrman's house. Do you recall that? There'd been news releases concerning the
Are you
death
talking about the vehicle? Images of the vehicle?
before the vehicle. I'm talking-
Images of a person walking?
Correct.
Okay.
Do you recall when those came out?
Those came out, I think, a day or two before the vehicle image.
Okay.
I don't remember what day, but prior to the vehicle.
And I'm going to just publish, and this has been previously published, a calendar. September 2022. If I told you that it's been learned that Mr. Gehrman was killed on Friday, September 2nd, 2022,
Okay.
is that accurate with your recollection?
Based on all the reports?
Yes.
Yes.
And if I told you that this image of an individual, in the getup, and I'm sure you've seen it since, in
Right.
orange,
The Chinaman hat and the orange vest and, yeah.
that was released on the 5th. Would you have any reason to disagree?
No?
If we had heard testimony yesterday concerning real estate agents that say that they saw this one in particular on the 5th, would that be, or on the 2nd of Friday, would that be inconsistent with your recollection of when this image was released?
No, because then I would have known Friday that this had occurred versus Saturday morning, so,
Okay.
yeah.
In reference to this image, and it may have been a clip of an individual walking
Right.
in this getup, you didn't recognize that as Mr. Tellis.
I did not.
And you had known Mr. Tellis since 2019?
That's correct.
Worked with him every day?
Correct.
Saw him walk in and out of the office? Saw him walk at properties that were being sold as part of his duties as being the public administrator?
Yes.
Seeing that walk on TV and that person, you didn't think it was Mr. Tellis, did you?
I don't look at people's gates. So yeah, people have asked me that before. I didn't. I did not know that was him.
Your concern came about when you saw the vehicle.
Correct.
And you'll agree with me that, there'd been some discussion online concerning whether the rims matched or not. You recall that questioning?
Sure.
Before the lunch break. And obviously there was a concern that you expressed that, geez, that vehicle
It
looks
looks
like.
identical, right?
And obviously there was a concern on Mr. Tellis's part as well, going, yeah, that looks like my vehicle.
Correct.
At no point in time did he ever communicate with you face-to-face or digitally by the phones or anything else that he was involved with Jeff Gehrman's murder?
That's correct. He said it wasn't him.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Can you redirect?
Just briefly, Your Honor. Ms. Kennett, in June of 2022, Robert Tellis lost his primary race. Does that sound familiar?
Yes.
So that would mean he would be out of office as of January of 2023?
Yes.
And so the new public administrator in 2023 would have been Rita Reed?
Correct.
And potentially she could have reversed or changed or done whatever to any policies instituted by Mr. Tellis because she would have been the one in charge?
Correct.
So his policies were ending, gosh, at the time of the murder, about 3 months later. Is that right? Well, September to January, I
I
guess.
say she started changing policies probably closer in June after he stopped showing up to the office all the time.
Okay.
She made changes on her own.
Okay, so because she was sort of the next in line?
She was there to, yep,
Okay, so she
Yes,
started
absolutely.
managing how things were going?
correct.
Okay. But officially, at least in January, she would be the public administrator and would be in charge of how things were done.
Correct.
I want to talk about the communications that were going to be released between yourself and Mr. Tellis, and there's other people, obviously.
Sure.
Those were going to be text messages, email, and Teams messages.
Correct.
And you mentioned that your concern was
The
maybe
vendors.
what you might have been saying about vendors.
Correct.
Did you raise any other concerns with Mr. Tellis, like, hey, this is going to cause problems for me, I'm really upset about this?
I did not.
Okay. You just said, look, I'm concerned about the vendors.
Just that, yes, there was one vendor's name in there, one of our newer realtors I didn't want.
In that group of communications,
Yes.
were there, like personal communications that really didn't have anything to do with work as well?
Probably.
Okay. I mean, probably everybody that uses
Right.
email at work, not every email is,
With Teams, all my other colleagues, so, yep.
yes. But that was included in that group as well?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were interviewed by detectives, I don't know if you remember the date, but does September 7th sound right to you?
Yes.
Okay. So they come to see you on September the 7th? Mm-hmm. Is that yes? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
And they talked to you about the different images, the images of the figure walking the person in orange?
Yes.
And then you also talked to them about the vehicle?
Yes.
And I think you said it today that you don't really pay attention to gait, like the person, that didn't set off any red flags or alarm bells for you,
It didn't.
but the vehicle did.
Correct.
And that's because you had seen him driving it?
No, never saw him driving it. It would be parked in his spot. Like, we had designated spots there for our work, and his was right next to the employee exit and entrance. So there were a few times that we had saw it there.
Okay. And is that why in your communications with him over text, when it was all coming out in the news, you were
I was like, wow, this is
identical?
correct.
And so when you discussed that with detectives, you mentioned that look, that vehicle looks,
Yes.
okay. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Just briefly, after the time that Mr. Tellis lost his bid, in the primary for re-election,
Yes.
he nonetheless kept working towards trying to preserve the estates of these heirs.
Yes.
And even though he had been elected out of office, he kept trying to stop this corruption that was in existence.
Correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else for
No,
this
Your Honor,
witness?
thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your testimony. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you very much for being here. The state may call their next witness.
Call Officer Anthony Mariscal. Thank you. Just give me a second, Your Honor. I gotta get set up. Please step up to the witness stand. Remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk, please.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
My first name is Anthony, Anthony. Last name is Mariscal. First letter M as in Mary, Ariscal.
And give me 1 minute. There's another flash drive that I did. Just like the one right
Yeah.
before this. Thanks. I have to restart the computer, but we can begin. Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police officer.
And how long have you been? Oh, where are you a police officer with, or like what department are you with?
I'm currently employed with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
Okay. How long have you been with Metro?
7 years now.
What is your title?
A patrol officer.
All right. What area command are you a part of?
I'm currently assigned to the Summerlin Area Command.
If you could explain to the jury, what is an area command?
An area command is one of various substations that are spread across the Las Vegas Valley to patrol different areas of town.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd of 2022. On that day, do you respond to an address of, I believe it's 7216 Bronze Circle in Las Vegas, Clark County?
That is correct, sir.
All right. On that day, were you working on duty?
Yes, sir.
I'm assuming since you responded. Were you with a partner? Were you alone? How were you working on that day?
I was alone in my patrol vehicle.
Okay. Was it a black and white vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you remember there being in terms of like a call for service? What do you remember the basic details being?
Vaguely that it was a suspicious situation call and that there was possibly somebody in medical distress.
Okay. So when you get a call like that and you're driving around, what do you do at that point?
Once we're dispatched, the address comes up in our computer system, and we just start heading that way via, the GPS, how we decide to get there. And we're reviewing constant details that are updated in the system by the dispatcher as we're driving en route to that location.
Okay. So as you are driving, what sort of details do you hear? Are there any different details that you're hearing that changed your mind about the circumstances, or is it pretty much the same?
Pretty much the same.
Okay. When you arrive at Bronze Circle, what do you remember about the area that you went to? Is it a commercial, residential neighborhood?
It was a residential area, a cul-de-sac, I believe.
Okay, it's a cul-de-sac. When you arrive, how many other police officers are there?
I was the first one to arrive.
So the first one there. When you are there any citizens in the general area coming towards you to fill you in on what's going on?
There was an elderly white couple standing in front of the target address.
If you could, please tell me a little bit about what their demeanor was like when they approached you.
It was a white male and white female, elderly, as I previously stated. The female appeared to be visibly distraught, crying, and the male subject was a bit in disbelief when I first made contact with him.
Okay. What do you learn from them, or what do they tell you?
They state that they're neighbors of a gentleman by the name of Jeff Gurman, and previously, the day before, they had tried to make contact with him because they were sitting in their living room and they had noticed that his garage door was open, which they found to be unusual.
Okay. And then what do they say they do over the course of the next day or the following morning?
That previous day that they referenced the garage, they went to his house and attempted to make contact with him. So they were knocking on his front door numerous times and he wasn't answering. And the male also stated that he had his phone number and had tried to call him numerous times to no avail.
Okay. Do they ultimately relay to you that they discover this man somewhere on his premises?
That is correct.
Do they lead you over to that area?
Yes, I walked up there with the male.
Okay. At that point, are there other officers kind of trickling in at this point?
I was still by myself at that point.
Okay. When you approached the body, did you touch it in any way, or did you just kind of look to see generally what it looked like?
None whatsoever. I just observed the general area.
Is that part of your training, or was that just a personal feeling?
That's standard protocol. Usually when we respond to situations regarding dead bodies or decedents or anything of the sort, the police themselves do not manipulate the scene in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Was this individual who was on the ground, was he moving or breathing in any way?
No, not that I could discern.
What did he appear to have any apparent blood on him?
A large amount, yes.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about protocol. You see a body, there's a lot of blood, not moving, not breathing. What do you do at that point? What are you supposed to do at that point?
At that point, I got on the radio and I broadcast the dispatch and the responding officers that it was my belief that the subject, Mr. Gurman, was deceased.
Okay. Eventually, do some other patrol officers arrive?
Yes.
What other steps are you taking to preserve the integrity of the crime scene, officer?
Due to the nature of the circumstance of this call, we had to make sure that there was no signs of forced entry to the home or anything that was amiss. So while my partner had arrived and was standing with Mr. Gurman and his neighbors, I decided to check the outer perimeter of the home just to confirm that there wasn't any signs of forced entry or anything else otherwise unusual.
At this time, is it pretty much just the couple officers that are there and this couple that are out in the cul-de-sac at this point?
Myself, my partner, and the couple, yes.
Okay. So there's not like a mountain of citizens pouring out of their homes coming towards you guys, right?
No.
Okay. Any real estate agents?
No.
I know it seemed like a silly question, but no one from Compass Realty, just to be clear, no one identifying themselves as an employee of Compass Realty?
No.
All right. So you walk the perimeter. Do you see anything that catches your attention in terms of like suspects or anything like that?
No, sir.
All right. At some point, do you start to tape off the scene?
I do, yes.
Okay. Why do you do that?
To prevent any of his other neighbors or anybody else that might be in the area from encroaching upon the residence that might otherwise disturb the immediate scene.
Okay. Have you ever heard of the term? So when you do your perimeter tape, where do you do it from?
Standard procedure for us is generally to make it as large as possible just to facilitate as much area for investigation to take place.
Okay, so do you just kind of around the house, the driveway? Where are you doing this at?
Specifically, I did it in front of the house.
All right. Later, is there crime scene tape that blocks off the entrance to Bronze Circle?
To my recollection, I believe so, yes.
You didn't do it per se, but was
No.
it ultimately done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you ever heard of clearing a residence?
Yes.
What is that?
Aside from this particular call, we respond to a variety of other calls for service, such as welfare checks, burglaries, things of that nature. We clear a residence usually with a minimum of a 3-man element if we're trying to take a suspect into custody, if we're conducting a welfare check, any lawful reason that we have entry to make into that home to conduct that.
Officer, did you participate, and I just don't know, but did you participate in the clearing of that residence? Or
I did, yes.
Was there a Sergeant Freese that also arrived at scene that assisted in clearing the residence with you?
That is correct, sir.
Okay. At the time that you arrived there, were you wearing anything that potentially could record the things that you're seeing or experiencing while out on duty?
Yes, sir.
What were you wearing?
My assigned body-worn camera.
Okay. Prior to coming here and testifying, have you had an opportunity to review footage from that day?
Yes, sir.
All right. At this time, we have State's proposed 344, which has been admitted by stipulation. And this time, we are going to play Officer Mariscal's body-worn camera. If we could cue over.
Mr. Bassett, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct, Your Honor.
Thank you.
I don't know, that's pretending like we've got extra screens, so we're gonna spin that, okay. Oh, let me stop it right here. Sir, when you activate your body-worn camera, does the audio immediately pick up?
No, sir.
Okay, so how does that work? Why then, if we played in the first few seconds, why is there no sound? What happens with the camera?
The manufacturer of this particular body camera, there's a 30-second approximate 30-second buffering zone where there's no audio before it kicks in.
Okay.
arriving in the area. Control 0, we're making contact with residents on the P6, we're being cooperative. Is there somebody that's injured around here?
What happened,
Just wait here.
yesterday, it was,
Are you a neighbor?
yeah, we're right across the street there. And yesterday, the garage door was open during the afternoon.
Okay.
At night, it wasn't closed, so we came over and we got his cell number, so we're trying to call him.
213, the mail's 419.
We're trying to call him, and we got no answer. So we thought, oh, you know, when it got dark.
So I want to. I'd like to stop right there for a second. You said we have a 419. What does that stand for?
That is our Metro radio code to identify a dead body.
Okay.
But the only thing I could do is hold the red cord and lower the garage door, because I couldn't get a hold of him banging on the door. Left in messages, and he, no answer. So I came over, I knocked and rang his bell because I was going to make a wellness call, because he does go out of town. He does go out of town, and it's a holiday. We thought, maybe he's flying, and then I was going to call for a wellness call once I'm not sure, and I walked around here because I was going to go in the back garden.
Does he live alone?
Yeah, his name is Jeff German.
Okay.
He's the RJ reporter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so.
Let me just, I'm kind of listening to the radio at the same time. Did you say that his garage was open?
Yeah, but I pulled the cord on it and lowered it down because.
That was last night?
Last night.
At what time?
Probably. What time did we come over last night? I think it was.
Sundown's usually like around close to 8 p.m.
Yeah, probably around there.
Okay. So, you hadn't heard from him in a while? Is that what it was?
We kept. Well, no. I see Jeff. He's got. And with the door being open, that's very unusual.
The garage door.
The garage door. So, we said, let's run it down and hopefully it'll call us. Maybe flying or maybe in the Midwest,
Did you notice anything unusual inside the garage?
No, his car's in there.
Okay. After you closed the garage, did you knock on the front door, try to get a hold of him?
No, we were trying to do all that before, and there was absolutely no answer. We kept leaving messages on his voicemail.
Okay.
Well, yesterday afternoon, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it's a red car. I was sitting in the living room over here, and I just happened to glance out the window, and there was a red, it looked like SUV or something. It was about where you are, and then it was a little over.
That was yesterday?
Yesterday.
At what time was that?
Oh, that was
Three-ish, because I went to pick up.
Is that your guys' house?
Yeah.
You have cameras? Is it,
I do, and unfortunately, we've been having problems, so I can't get into it.
Okay. Okay. Give me just a second. We'll probably get you guys on a written statement real quick, but you guys read it for that. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for right now. There's some trauma to his neck.
Oh yeah.
They said yesterday at around 8 p.m. approximately, they noticed his garage door was open. They were knocking on his door prior to that.
If you just go over to your house, we'll be over in a second, okay?
They were knocking on his door prior to that, and they weren't getting an answer. They said before that, earlier in the afternoon, a red sedan was parked in front of his house, but those cameras that they have don't work.
Is it blood coming from his neck or is it from his mouth?
I almost want to say it's his neck, dude, because there's like a tear in his shirt. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely looks like trauma to his neck. They said that his car was in his garage. They didn't notice anything unusual inside the garage.
Victor 16.
I'm going to check the outer perimeter of the house.
City Hill, probably about 60, a fair amount of blood, possibly severed thing.
Take one.
So for Victor 60, actually, it's kind of wrong. Give me a call when you're ready. Copy.
Sorry, last one.
Number 32, just spoke with the resident who has a camera, and we did observe the man walk by at 10:11 break. It shows white shirt with the red lettering on the back and a white visor on the ground, but he just had a bomb in his hand, negative 8413 on the camera.
Everything else is secure. Yeah, I'm going to put it up right now. Yeah, he's at the end of the street. I'll put some up right here.
You're Robert 32 TV. Just second camera angle. Just to reconfirm. Negative 413 in his hands whatsoever, just a phone break. Just update this to a 416 please, for quick. In case there is any future calls, he appeared to have an orange tank on.
I'll be with you in a moment, sir.
Send me the next 2 available units so we can make sure we have this whole thing contained. Just give me time to that whole.
Hang on, please.
3 hours, 34 cents, Robert. That's Frank, please.
Sure, 30. Trevor 32, for 34, convicted of rape.
I'll give that to you in a free. Give you the first number.
Trevor 32,
I didn't know just give us a car. What is it?
She mentioned briefly ago, he said that we used to bring the other TV units on this call.
Whatever they need.
Delightful? Okay.
Pause it here. So essentially, you kind of finish up sealing off the house. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
If we move a little bit farther forward, I take it you kind of speak to the neighbors a little bit. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I guess you get. What are we looking at here? Whose home are you in at this point?
This is the home of the woman that you see pictured on screen now.
Okay, so you maybe go speak with them briefly.
Yes.
Is that what you do? Yeah. And then eventually, what are we looking at here?
At this point, this is when we've made entry into Mr. Gurman's home and is clearing it.
Okay. All right, and what are we looking at here?
This is the garage of the woman's home that I previously mentioned.
And why are you in there?
I'm with her husband, and I was attempting to assist him in operating his video surveillance system to possibly obtain footage of the red vehicle that they had mentioned.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have no further questions for this witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, thank you. Officer, we see you arrive, and when you came into contact with a fairly mild-mannered, well-spoken gentleman, Roy Bailey. He was the gentleman that you were speaking to initially in front of the residence. That was captured on video, correct?
Are you referring to the neighbor?
Yes.
Yeah, that is correct, sir.
It's Metro's policy that you wear body cam, and that as a patrol officer, and that when you have civilian contact, you record it. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
In this case, he was not the subject of an investigation, the target of an investigation, but nonetheless, we have your contact with him captured, and we had the benefit of viewing that this afternoon, correct?
That's correct.
You arrived a little after 5:30 on this date, September 3rd, give or take. And trust me, it's not a trick question. I mean, you can see up here we have a time later on, but you arrived right around 5:30 in the afternoon, September 3rd.
5:30 in the afternoon?
Yes.
Robert, that's Zulu time.
What would that be in normal people's time?
I don't know the conversion, but
Fair
it
enough.
is in Zulu time.
Okay. Point being is you come into contact, and you were the first recorded law enforcement that we know of, correct? And that's captured on the body cam.
Yes, sir. I was first to arrive on scene.
We don't know what proceeded prior to your arrival, correct?
No, sir.
That's on record, that's recorded, fair enough. And we have you securing the scene. It says 1746, but could you give us what time that would be in body cam time?
Just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
That would be the time that you previously mentioned.
Would it be 10:30 maybe in the morning, give or take?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I have no reason to contradict your recollection or your review of the time. I'm just trying to make it clear and so the record's clear. From that point forward, we have the benefit of body cam. Interactions are captured. The scene is captured, things of that nature. Fair to say?
Yes, sir.
And you secure the area about 10 minutes after you come into contact with Mr. Bailey, the neighbor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Will you redirect?
No, no, no.
Thank you very much for your testimony here today. You may step down. You are excused from your subpoena. Thank you for being here today. The state may call their next witness.
We'll call Sergeant Bradley Freese.
And if you'll please remain standing, raise your right hand, face the clerk.
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
You may be seated. Please state and spell your first and last name for the record.
My name is Bradley Freese, Bradley. My last name is Friess.
Sir, what do you do for a living?
I'm a police sergeant with Las Vegas Metro Police.
And how long have you been with Metro?
17 years.
What is your current title?
Currently, I am a supervisor with the abuse and neglect section.
Okay. I want to turn your attention to September 2nd of 2022. At that time, did you hold a different position within Metro?
Yes, I did. I was a patrol sergeant, sorry.
Okay, and what was the area command that you were affiliated with?
Summerlin Area Command.
All right. Do you respond to 7216 Bronze Circle at approximately sometime after 10:30 in the morning?
Yes,
on
I
that
did.
day? Okay. When you go out there, or when you were kind of alerted, what are the basic details that you recall hearing?
The basic details that I heard is that there was a suspicious situation. And the neighbor had found their neighbor lying on the ground and believed they were possibly deceased, and then officers were dispatched to that location.
Okay, so when you hear that, do you start to make your way over?
Not immediately. Generally, I will wait to get a confirmation or something like that. I'll start heading that way, but depending on who else is, if there's other supervisors, I may or may not head that way right away.
Do you ultimately do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. When you do arrive, is there any crime scene tape put up that you can remember to help preserve the scene?
Yes, there was crime scene tape and marked police vehicles at the end of the cul-de-sac, blocking off any vehicles driving down the cul-de-sac, as well as at the home itself. There was some crime scene tape.
When you arrive at the scene, who appears to be outside?
When I arrived there, the only people that I remember seeing were other officers that were there.
Okay. Do you recall any regular citizens coming through?
Not that I recall, no.
Any real estate agents?
No.
All right. When you arrive, what do you decide to do at that point with your fellow officers?
When I first arrived, we needed to make sure that there were no additional people inside the residence that needed assistance. So we cleared the residence, make sure nobody else was inside the home. And then after that, we started to stabilize, make sure everything was preserved for detectives to respond.
Okay. Are you familiar with something that is called a CAD log?
Yes.
And what is a CAD log?
A CAD log is basically the log as an event is updated in our computer system. It is put in this log, and it details, each line details what the officers say over the radio to the dispatcher, and the dispatcher types in this log, which is preserved in that CAD log.
Okay. Is that sometimes referred to as an audit trail?
Correct.
Okay. Additionally, can CAD logs organize people in terms of kind of the chronology with when they arrive on a scene?
Yes.
Can they do that? So there's other forms that kind of show the chronology of people showing up?
Yes.
And it lists maybe their name and their time and things of that nature. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. In preparation for testifying, have you reviewed the CAD log, an audit trail, as well as a chronological log of who was arriving at scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay. At this time, we're going to ask permission to admit states proposed 346 and 347, which I believe is admitted by stipulation.
Correct.
All right. So I'd like to publish just page 1 of states 346. Back out a little bit. All right. If we can see this here in the upper left-hand corner, it lists an address. Is that the address that you guys kind of respond to?
Yes, sir.
What does cross low mean in the middle here? What's that signify?
That is the closest cross street with that particular address.
At the bottom here, or at least in the middle of the street, it says create, and it says 9/3/2022 at 10:33:31. What does that signify?
That is the date and time the event was created.
Okay, and so there's an event number that's associated with this. Is that right?
Correct.
What is an event number?
The event number is how our police department logs and catalogs anything that's associated with a particular event, whether it's a car stop or a crime or anything like that.
Okay, so if someone calls 911 at the beginning of the day, maybe that's the first event of the day, and it just kind of goes on and on and on through.
Correct.
Is this the event number up here?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now, I want to. You mentioned that the create date was at 10:33:31. When you look at this first entry here, is that kind of what it's signifying here?
Yes.
All right. The next entry here says, can you? This is in shorthand, but can you interpret that for us?
Sure. Conference with medical. PR found neighbor on ground on side yard covered in blood. Appears 419.
What does PR mean?
PR is a person reporting.
Okay. And what does appears 419 mean?
Appears 419. 419 is our radio code for dead body.
Okay. We look here and we start seeing at this entry at 10:34:38. It says unit LV2V6TV stat AS. What does AS stand for?
That stands for assigned.
Okay, and what does that unit, kind of those numbers and that symbol, LV2V6TV, what does that mean?
So the LV is just, the actual call sign is the 2V6TV, and what that stands for, 2 is the shift indicator, 2 is day shift, 3 is swing shift, 1 is graveyard. V is a particular sector beat that unit is responsible for, and then the 6 is that officer's assigned number, whether 1 through 6, and then TV is short for a tactical vehicle.
We go to 10:34:44. It indicates dispatch LV/2V13 officers LV Mariscal Anthony. What does that mean?
That indicates that 2 Victor 13 Officer Mariscal was dispatched to the event.
Okay, and then right below that, it has that same call sign being AS, meaning assigned?
Correct.
Right below that, it says ER, and using that same call sign of Officer Mariscal. What does that mean?
ER means en route.
Okay. So as we kind of look at this log, we'll see a different call sign a little bit lower here. That means that Officer Tyler Burgess is being assigned at 10:34:51. Am I reading that essentially right?
Yes, sir.
And then we've got another entry down here. What does this mean?
It says neighbor male, approximately 50 years old, negative breathing, meaning not breathing, changed colors.
Okay. So the call sign for Officer Mariscal was 2 Victor 13, correct?
Correct.
When we look at page 2, we look at this entry here at 10:37:08. It says 2 Victor 13 AR. What does AR mean?
That is short for arrived.
Okay. So essentially what this log does is it shows us who is arriving and who is coming and when they go or if they leave. Would that be fair?
Correct.
All right. You've had a chance to also review the 31 page, and I'm publishing 347, this chronological log of officers and law enforcement personnel with Metro that responded to the scene. Is that correct?
That is correct.
You've been through all 31 pages reviewing the names, correct?
Yes.
Did you see the name Derek Jappy anywhere on that catalog?
No, I did not.
Okay. On that day, were you also wearing body-worn camera?
Yes, I was.
Okay. At this time, if we could switch over to, and we're going to play state 344. So is this your body cam, sir?
Yes, sir.
And you are not at the location in question. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
All right. We are going to spare everyone. I take it this is you driving there?
Yes.
All right. So we're resuming at 20 minutes and 5 seconds.
I just arrived. Give me just a minute. I'll let you know. How many do you have in an office still? Okay, that should be sufficient. I'll let you know here in just a minute. Go ahead, sir. So what's across the street? Bronze and what? Copy. It'd be a winter green and bronze. Okay. Fair amount of blood, probably from the neck area, over by the shirt. Okay. That's my head right there. They just said, every day, you heard yesterday, saw a red SUV parked here, can't really describe it that well, so the garage door is open. About 8 o'clock, goes outside, the SUV's gone, garage is still open, can't get a hold of this kid, you didn't know where he's at. So neighbor goes in, pulls the right forward, closes the garage. Okay. So it should be unlocked. Okay. That's it. No family, no other, no inside, and no animals. So this dude was a crime reporter for the yard bill, so okay, that's where we're at. Okay, good. All right, so we're going to the garage door. I gotta look it up. Okay, all right. Yeah. You got a set of gloves? Okay. I got a new stack right now, so that's fine.
Let me just stop for 1 second. You've been doing this for how long?
17 years.
I take in your 17 years you've been to a lot of scenes. Would that be fair?
Yes.
How would you describe this? Is this a dynamic or more like a sterile scene?
It's not a dynamic scene, but there are still some unknowns for us, so it's not quite static yet.
Okay. And so, but I guess you've been to scenes where there's like lots of people running around and people coming out of the woodworks to kind of offer opinions about things they've seen. Is this really one of those scenes?
No.
Okay. Just resuming play.
hold on, ma'am. Give us just a minute, okay? Yeah, we're gonna move it right now. We're gonna go in and make sure it's on the side. Hang out over there for us, okay?
Why are you asking her to do that? Why are you asking her to stay on the other side of the street?
Just to kind of maintain the integrity of the scene where we have, because there's only limited resources there. We needed to make sure we went into the home safely, and I don't want somebody else kind of drawing our attention elsewhere.
Understood.
Before you go in, make sure everybody's ready, so hold on. Good? All right.
More continuing coverage in the Las Vegas reporter murder trial of Robert Tellez is on the way. From the Hidden Killers podcast and True Crime Today, press subscribe now.